WWT presents Partner Spotlight.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jenny Von Berkham, your host for this session on the future of the workplace, hybrid work, and the role that video devices play in creating seamless and inclusive experiences for employees, no matter where they work. This is a Partner Spotlight, one of WWT's series where we bring in our eminent experts from our strategic partners and WWT's own. I'm honored today to be joined by Joe Mukherjee from HP Poly and Mike Davis, WWT's own expert on Microsoft Cloud, Teams, and Microsoft Teams Rooms. So guys, welcome. We're so happy to have you. I'm going to brag on you a bit. Mike has more than 20 years of experience in the IT services industry, specializing in voice and video technologies from Microsoft, Cisco, Zoom, and HP Poly. With a focus on business outcomes, Mike brings extensive knowledge of the cloud and collaboration technology to guide our clients in diverse projects from strategy to design and execution. He is recognized as a trusted advisor for WWT's public and private sector customers. And as our technical solutions architect, he leads teams to design and build scalable, self-hosted hybrid and cloud solutions to support their digital transformation, employee experience, and infrastructure modernization strategies. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Jenny.
Joe Mukherjee is HP Poly's Director of Americas Channels and Canadian Sales Engineering. He leads a team of talented systems engineers at HP Poly, and he and WWT have collaborated extensively on the digital workspace, meeting equality, and hybrid work. Joe's team is responsible for positioning and delivering HP Poly's unified communication solutions across all personas in the converged hybrid world that all of you are working to navigate. We're excited and honored to have you join us for this timely discussion. So let's get started. When it comes to the workforce, executives are concerned about employee engagement, productivity, high-performance teamwork, and helping their organizations remain competitive so that their teams can innovate and thrive. Yes, we've heard some companies and public sector agencies have mandated a return to the office, at least some days of the week. So others are looking at hybrid work for the long term, or others having full-time remote staff. So what we're seeing and what we'll address today are effective collaboration, meeting platform consolidation, and the role that meeting rooms and video devices have in supporting your organizational objectives. So let's start with you, Joe. If you could, please set the stage for us on what HP Poly is seeing in the organizations and clients you serve. What are the collaboration and digital workspace managers being asked to prioritize now?
Hi, Ginny. Hi, Mike. Great to be here with Worldwide Technologies, one of our eminent partners with HP Poly. Ginny, that's a great question. I think we're all kind of crawling out of lockdown. I happen to live in a downtown city, and downtown is back. We're seeing subways busy, food courts busy. People are coming back to the office because they're craving that social connection. You just can't build rapport when you're behind a laptop screen for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Human connections is where rubber hits the road. So what are we seeing in terms of the market? It's really redefining an experience. It is enabling working from anywhere. As I mentioned, lockdown, people are still working from home. We're seeing an increase in terms of people coming back into campus, but it's safe to say that virtually every call that takes place is going to have someone who's in the space and someone who's joining from another space. And having those nonverbal communication cues, the furrowed of brows, the smiles, the frowns, that nonverbal communication is so critical in terms of, like I said, building rapport. So it is really making the campus a destination for collaboration, for teamwork, for strategy, for professional connections. We have to earn the commute. I'll give an example. My daughter was a COVID hire, and for the first 8 months of her professional life, she was sequestered to her kitchen, working on a laptop. She came back into the office. She was all very excited. And the balance of her day, guess what she did? She sat in the cubicle and did Teams calls. So it really did not earn the commute specifically for her. It really needs to be a purpose-driven exercise where your colleagues will be in the office the same time you will be. You'll have an opportunity to support that culture, that teamwork, that meeting equity. The experience is really what sets us apart relative to our competition. It is about real estate consolidation. We've seen across the media, in the newspaper, in published print, that real estate in corporate America, the adoption rate, the absorption rates, well, they're changing. It's not the same. We have to create a scenario where our most important assets, the human beings in our organizations, have a place where they feel like it's a welcoming environment with all of the technology that makes, frankly, the technology invisible. That's what Mike and I are really championing, to make sure that people can collaborate regardless of where they happen to be.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we'll get back to some of that consolidation and what it means in the way of platforms. But I wanted to kind of, you paint a picture there, Joe, of this, vibrant environment at work. And so we tend to think of video and the way we connect, and it's very device oriented. And some of these spaces have been neglected over the past 5 to 7 years. So, Mike, I'd like to ask you and Joe to chime in. What role do you see that video devices have in supporting these, like that broader corporate culture and this sense of engagement and involvement?
So I feel organizations really want their users to have flexibility. They're looking to have flexibility in where their users are actually working as far as their location goes, and then flexibility in the communication devices that they choose to use. They want seamless integration with existing productivity tools that their users are already using today, and collaboration platforms in a way that's intuitive, easy to use, requires minimal training and technical support. If users, at home used to working with Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or Google Meet from their home office, and they come in to have an experience in an office working directly with their workmates within the office space, they go to use a conference room system, that they really want something that's going to be similar to their experience that they get from home or complementary to the way that they're actually working today. They don't need to be more difficult or more complex. The other thing that we're really starting to see a lot that kind of leads back to the video devices is the choice of platforms is still a sticking point for a lot of organizations. A lot of companies are still using multiple collaboration platforms that require interoperability solutions that can be complex, costly, and an additional management overhead. And because of this, we're starting to see a trend of organizations who are pushing to standardize on single collaboration platforms in order to create a consistent user experience and save on licensing and overhead costs. But we see that quite a bit these days with corporations looking to maximize their Microsoft spend on licensing, because they're spending quite a bit on E3, E5 licenses these days. So they're looking to maximize that licensing spend and move their workloads over to Teams. At the same time that they're looking to consolidate on a collaboration platform, they don't want to be held hostage to a single platform due to having to go through costly and extensive conference room hardware refreshes whenever they go to change. This requires video systems that actually support multi-platform environments and provide a consistent user experience regardless of which platform they actually use.
Right. So if I hear you correctly, Mike, what you're saying is we're hearing from our client base this desire to consolidate internally on a single platform where possible, but then this interoperability because there are partners and others, external suppliers. And so the reality is we're all still, even if we choose a single platform, we still got to take the Google Meet, we still have to take the WebEx, we still have the Microsoft Teams, Zoom. And is that actually doable today, that kind of interoperability?
In In a way, yes. I mean, the conference room systems these days aren't one-trick ponies anymore. A lot of them support multi-platforms. So it's fairly easy if you're looking ahead a little bit on the different platforms that you have an opportunity to choose out there. It's really important to kind of focus on those platforms that work with multiple OEMs that feed into those ecosystems. So, for instance, if you're choosing like looking at going from a Zoom user today, and I might be moving to Teams tomorrow, yet I have hardware refreshes that need to be done today. I'm going to want to look for systems that support both.
Got it.
So, looking for systems that won't lock you into a specific platform for the next 3 to 5 years. Moving a platform is one thing, but going out and doing complete hardware refreshes on your conference room systems, that tends to be the very costly piece of migrating from one platform to another. So it's very important to find video conferencing devices that are resilient and can support the multiple platforms that are out there today to choose from.
So, Joe, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I think Mike nailed a couple of very important points. Number one, it has to be easy, right? So we have an experience that we've all been accustomed to when we were working from our kitchens and our bedrooms. And now we're back in campus, and the technology needs to be seamless. It needs to be as easy as when we were using it when we were home. And these are some of the innovations that we're keenly focused on, is making sure that there is no significant training opportunity. There isn't a lot of calls into IT. This is around manageability. This is around operating the system. We're talking about now campuses being deployed across the country. And there may not be technical resources available at every single branch office. So when a user walks into a space, they're greeted with a big shiny green button that says, push this button to join. As a matter of fact, we're making it even easier. Imagine you've got a mobile phone. Who doesn't have one of these? Now I can walk into a space and I can plug, using my mobile phone, I will open up the camera on my device. You'll see a QR code on this Teams room. And I'll join from my mobile phone. And just like that, I'm in a Teams call. You'll notice I didn't have to touch a button. And there you have it. I'm in the Teams call. I didn't touch a button. Any user that has a mobile phone with a camera on it, point it to your device, pop in that QR code. Could it be any easier? That's what we're all trending for in terms of making this experience really, really powerful and really seamless. That's one of the innovations that we're bringing, which is again around making that operation super, super easy, but there's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of camera tracking and AI technologies built into these platforms. So even if a user moves around the space and he's projecting to a far-end audience, notice the camera's going to take a second and then capture me. This is making that experience super, super easy for all the users, no matter what their style of presentation may happen to be. These are all AI-driven experiences, but go back to the first thing I said. We're making this super complex technology very, very user-friendly and providing all the tools and applications for IT administrators to be able to manage these assets across a widespread geography. That's what we're really enabling to do with our friends at WWT.
Yeah. And Joe, I really saw that in action just now. So how often have you been on the end as a remote participant, sort of locked into a boardroom or conference room, and somebody gets up from the table and heads to a digital whiteboard, and then the camera's not tracking, so someone in the room has to kind of transcribe. So that's a fantastic example of inclusiveness, so that the remote participant feels equally engaged. So I loved that demo. That's fantastic.
And just to build on that, audio is super important too, right? So audio is critically important. If you can't hear me, then really this is not a valid video call. I'm about 25 feet away. I haven't changed the intonation of my voice, but I'm hoping you can hear me just as clear I was when I was 6 or 7 feet away. So this is the kind of technology for larger spaces, for smaller spaces, for tracking participants, for enabling a QR code experience without having to touch any technology. This is, I think, the future for hybrid working.
Mhm. Awesome. I want to reprise one of Mike's comments about the room and room devices and room refresh. So often we're seeing kind of when we're talking to clients that device refresh is kind of overdue. It's due now. Can you tell us a little bit about what's driving device refresh?
Yeah, great question. And so it's safe to say that video conferencing a decade ago, you could make a video conferencing investment and expect that asset to run for about a decade because we were using standards-based protocol that have years and years of legacy. We've all adopted cloud technologies, whether that's Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Zoom applications. These all live in the cloud. And the cloud applications have a requirement for devices to keep pace with their innovations. So as an example, Android devices, well, guess what? Android mobile phones, they probably have a 2 to 3 year life cycle, same like our conferencing technologies, which are built on Android platforms. If we're talking about compute-based platforms, well, a computer is typically refreshed every 3 to 5 years because the chipset changes, the backplane changes. We're launching a new PC at Infocom, and this PC is going to give an amazing amount of flexibility to users who are building complex video conferencing rooms. To give you an idea, our ports are color coded. We're going to make it super easy so the port and the connectivity is dead simple. Installation is a breeze, maintenance is a breeze, operations is a breeze, but that requires us to refresh these technologies. As I mentioned, new chips, new devices, new capabilities. This is a very exciting time to be in video conferencing.
That is, it is. I agree. I'm hearing a little bit though around device and platform consolidation, and then these fantastic features, processing power, audio quality, tracking. Um, are the business objectives around tool rationalization or streamlining your costs related to licensing of software? Are those cost efficiency business objectives at odds with the idea of inclusiveness, employee engagement, experience parity to support DEI and employee engagement? Mike, let's go to you. Do you feel like IT managers in collaboration and digital workspace can be expected both to reduce costs while upgrading rooms and endpoints with more current features?
Yeah, no, well, I would agree that traditionally those objectives would be at odds with each other. I don't think that's necessarily the case these days. Now, there's still pockets, but with these new cloud-based technologies, now in the past, organizations would try to reduce the amount of management overhead by locking into a single OEM for platforms and devices. So that OEM would pretty much be across their entire board. Um, these days, with cloud-based technologies, that opens it up for the flexibility of having multi OEMs in that environment. And in the past, flexibility in the conference room would usually be provided by adding complex AV and control systems into the
Mm-hmm.
space. These days, the devices are a lot smarter. One, they're cheaper. They are a lot smarter in the capabilities that they can do with the chipsets and all that are in them, with the AI innovations and all that are integrated with them. And then you've got these, peripherals like, cameras and mics and all that can pretty much be retained if you've got to upgrade your compute module in your room space. So it becomes a lot more cost effective to upgrade that room in 5 years if you need to maintain the standards that the cloud providers are asking for. But it also means that it opens you up to choice and flexibility. You don't have vendor lock anymore. You can make solid choices on what works best for your environments. What works best? We got a lot of customers who are global, and we found that they may run certain devices in certain areas of the world compared to other areas because that's just what they're used to and like to maintain. So I think with the new systems being a lot smarter, most of the integrations happening within the systems and not requiring a lot of extra third party complex AV stuff. Um, Maintaining the systems has become much cheaper over time. It doesn't require the large teams that it used to require, the dedicated, AV professionals and all that used to be required. These days, a lot of folks are managing their video and voice devices as part of their regular day activities when managing the actual overall cloud platform.
So I'm hearing, more cost-effective devices, less ancillary equipment, and then in terms of IT staff or third-party AV contractors, those labor costs are condensed. Okay.
Correct. And the end results of more consistent user experiences with devices that are easier to manage and maintain.
Yep. Well, Joe, just wanted to ask you a little bit about another factor in device refresh, and I've been hearing word of Microsoft end of support. Is there something that you'd like to speak to? Is that truly a factor in room refresh?
Yeah, absolutely it is, Jenny. I'm glad you raised it. So we make a lot of effort as HP Poly to keep lockstep with Microsoft, with Teams, with all of the innovations that Microsoft brings to bear. I believe at present we have over 48 devices certified for Microsoft Teams, which is way up and above relative to our competition. So what that means is buying or investing in Teams certified devices from HP Poly, the expectation is that as innovations evolve from Microsoft, we will keep lockstep. Now, having said that, there is a critical mass where devices, chipsets, and I mentioned this before, they're going to come to their own natural end of life. So to give you an example, the chipsets on older generation Samsung phones, well, the newer Samsung phones have an updated Qualcomm system on chip. And we're taking that same stride. That enables us to unlock new capabilities and new features. One of those examples would be what we like to call multicam. So in this device here, you'll notice as I join this call, there are multiple cameras that I'm going to showcase. So in those larger spaces, if I want to make sure that I'm delivering the whites of everyone's eyes in those spaces, that's where I need that higher end compute power to deliver a multicam experience, which absolutely drives inclusion and meeting equity. I hope that answers your questions.
Absolutely.
Infocom is a massive trade show that takes place this year in Las Vegas, Nevada during the weeks of June 11th through the 14th. We at HP Poly are super excited, and I personally am over the moon. I can't wait to be able to show all of my customers and partners two specific devices that we're launching at Infocom. As I'm sure you've heard, we're part of HP. HP makes some very, very powerful compute devices. We are launching a new compute. This is the G9 Plus device, which will enable a multiple camera scenario. Think multicam. So I showed you one on the Zoom platform. Now we'll be able to do it in Microsoft Teams. We're paving the way for, again, driving the whites of people's eyes in any scenario with multiple cameras and microphone quality, which really discerns us from our competition. That's the G9 Plus. The other device that we're launching is an Android-based codec. This looks like a traditional codec. Draw your attention to the color-coded ports. Same scenario. We're making the installer's life easier. We're making any post-install troubleshooting easier. You notice the form factor. This is a tiny little box. It comes with this mounting plate. This is a cool feature. Guess what? It's magnetized. And so you mount this device behind the display. You've got grommets cut out for cable management. We're big on sustainability. This device will not ship by default with a power brick. If your room can supply power over Ethernet, you are good to go. However, we know that there may be some spaces that do require power over Ethernet. That's where a power brick, which is an optional SKU, will also be an option to drive this device. So how are they different? One is a Windows-based device, and the other is an Android-based device. Windows offers features first. Microsoft, Zoom, etc., they will typically bring features first to the Microsoft environment. And therefore, if you want to be first in line, you probably want to go with a Windows-based solution. What we've come to learn is that organizations that are using traditional VC support staff, video conferencing teams, they're preferring the Android platform. And Android has its own advantages as well. So you made a statement earlier, Mike, about multiple systems and interop on all of the HP Poly Android devices. Let's say, for example, you walk into a Zoom room, but you're having to join a WebEx call. We can swipe on the panel, expose a solution called device mode, and whatever is running on the user's computer becomes what is displayed on the large form factor display. We'll leverage the microphone and cameras in those scenarios. So that's a unique capability that we can do on Android. Android also has a number of bar-based solutions. This is the R30. Mike, I believe you're using the R30 on this call. This device is phenomenal. Bring your own device. So, Ginny, we're seeing a swath of different use cases, all geared towards what the business outcome is looking for. And in terms of smaller rooms, BYOD tends to prevail. Solution here. This is a device that jacks in one cable from the user, and all the camera framing, all the noise blocking, as well as the management capabilities are the same as our larger room solutions. So no matter what type of space you're fitting out, one brand, multiple form factors, over 48 certified devices for Microsoft Teams, one management application that's also including headsets and handsets, all certified for Microsoft Teams. The same is true for Google. The same is true for Zoom. We are investing substantial amount of R&D to make sure we are fitting spaces, of which there are 82 million worldwide, which we believe will require video as users come back into campus.
Those are truly exciting announcements and poised to really get some attention and traction. I love what I'm seeing in form factor and choice and flexibility. So very honored to have it showcased here on WWT.com. Mike, I want to kind of turn back to you and think through of the form factors, the features, the deployment that Joe just spoke to. If you think on what our client orgs in public sector, large enterprise, what they're inspecting most closely, what they're weighing, ease of implementation, total cost of ownership, product availability, what are you hearing among our client base?
It's all across the board. I mean, they're looking for everything. They want ease of use, simplicity, low costs, low overhead when it comes to management of the devices. They're trying to do more with less these days, and they're trying to figure out how to fit, their whole video conferencing ecosystem into that mold. Organizations have always kind of juggled how to provide that flexibility for their users while also trying to reduce those costs of management overhead and calls to their help desk. And they're starting to move away from the complex rooms of the past that have those, third-party control systems and complex AV systems to more of an out-of-the-box solution and experience. These days, a lot of these out-of-the-box devices, include their own touch panels with much simpler interfaces for the end users that mimic pretty much what they're used to getting in their home office or their mobile environments, or even enhancing those experiences that they're used to using every single day from their home office or mobile. And as users start to come back to the office, that provides more consistent experience that they're used to. So it's easier for them to walk into any conference room, use the space intuitively, not have to make calls to the help desk or troubleshooting calls because of a kludgy system kind of put together with sort of BYOD in mind. And then I think another big driving force is the proliferation of the multiple collaboration platforms is really sort of driving the refresh that I'm starting to see. There's a lot of older legacy rooms out there that, again, historically tend to be single platform solutions. Mm-hmm. So with these refreshes being so disruptive and costly, they really want to prevent that vendor lock-in moving into the future. So they're not looking for a single one-trick pony at all. They want devices that are going to work across multiple platforms. They may choose their platform, a different platform a few years from now. They don't want to have to go through a whole costly disruptive refresh again. And so again, they're looking for that flexibility and choice, flexibility in platforms, cost effective, and easy to manage.
Yeah.
At the same time, providing best in class audio, video, and reliability in the conference room space. And then Joe tapped on this a little bit with device management. Another thing that we're starting to hear from organizations is they're not always happy with what the cloud platforms are providing at a management level for end user devices. Some of them are getting better, but they're still looking for enhancements to what they get with their cloud platforms. And with Poly and Poly Lens specifically, there's a solution that provides cloud management for remote troubleshooting, updates, inventory control, but not just for video devices. It's across the entire product line. So as you're adding phone systems, as you're adding headsets and all to your users, peripherals like my little Sync 20 I got in front of me for a speakerphone. The PolyLens can manage all that for you and provides additional enhancements above and beyond what the OEM cloud providers are providing in their own management platforms. So it's actually quite complementary.
Yeah. Mike, that harkens back to what we talked about earlier. These cost efficiencies, this refresh, consolidation is impacting the employee experience for the IT staff, but also for all employees, generally speaking. So, they really do mesh well together. So, folks, we're close to our final moments together. I love to kind of sum up with just a quick hit and ask Joe, start with parting advice you'd wish to underscore to our viewers.
Well, I'll tell you that being part of the HP group of companies has been a phenomenal, I'll say, trajectory for the Poly business unit. As a reminder, Poly, we are the manufacturers of headsets, handsets, and video conferencing devices. Mike said this eloquently. It has to be multi-platform capable. All of our devices are certified across the large cloud providers. But I'll tell you that the amount of investment that HP is making in the Poly business unit has been phenomenal. I've been at Poly for 10 years, and this is the first time that we're launching 14 video products. 14 video products. That excludes headsets and handsets, HP recognizes the opportunity for refresh, to bring meeting equity, to bring the investment portfolio. Mike mentioned this earlier. The average selling price or the cost based on rooms has gone substantially down relative to where it was a decade ago. So that does free up capital to outfit more rooms because it really comes down to enabling the workforce to have choice. Am I going to choose to work from my home office from the day in a campus location? And we're launching cameras that are going to pick up folks that are 40 feet away. So think about those very, very large spaces. These are devices that, again, we're investing massively in terms of enabling partners like yourselves at WWT and our mutual customers to be successful on this journey of hybrid work.
Awesome. And how about you, Mike?
So I'm pretty excited these days. I got to say, I've been doing video conferencing for over 25 years. I've worked with Poly that entire time, so over 25 years of experience with Poly, and I haven't been this excited about the conference room space in the past 10 years. I thought it got stagnant there for a while, and I am very excited about what I'm seeing coming out now, especially from Poly these days. The innovations that are coming out. Again, the 14 new products that are coming out are very exciting. I got a tour of that a couple of weeks ago that Poly gave us, and really good stuff kind of coming out. So I'm very excited about what's on the horizon. And my message to customers out there is really, as you're standardizing internally on the meeting platform of choice, look for video endpoints that are going to provide your organization with maximum flexibility and interoperability across meeting software and platforms. Many of the employees you support have meetings both internally and externally. They're hopping from Zoom to Microsoft Teams to Google Meet. And by going with an OEM like HP Poly that has such a large range of not only video, but voice and audio devices, you'll have the flexibility of choice when it comes to maintaining a single vendor environment for your endpoints, if that's the way you want to go.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for joining us today. This was an excellent discussion with a lot to digest. You can find a lot more around hybrid work, employee experience, meeting parity, video interoperability. Just search on wwt.com for Poly Meetings Hybrid Work. But if your organization wants to have a one-on-one conversation about your organization's requirements, what you're looking to do, we have a complimentary briefing. It's called Enterprise Video Conferencing and our Next Gen Meetings. So you can look for that. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next Partner Spotlight.